Micro Four Thirds cameras and their technology are invaluable for architectural photography in two main ways: increased depth of field in low light and outstanding image stabilization in camera and lens, permitting sharp images in buildings where tripods are not allowed. I demonstrated these features in an illustrated article published in Amateur Photographer magazine a few years ago. My images are also featured in other publications. MFT sensors are smaller than full frame, allowing more depth of field at most aperture and lens settings without sacrificing differential focusing. This produces amazing results at f4, an aperture that restricts depth of field. In this photo, it is restored with a wide-angle optic and a knowledge of the hyperfocal distance. The advanced image stabilization with the OM5 has permitted a handheld photo at 2/5 of a second, essential as the National Trust does not allow the use of tripods. A shortcoming of both film and digital technologies was their ability to capture images having a high dynamic range. Balancing the exposure of a dark interior with a much brighter stained glass window inside a church was difficult, if not impossible, without overexposing the window, particularly film images for projection. Digital in most formats has made this possible with improved sensor technology, HDR, and software, but the photographer requires to have some knowledge of the craft beyond point and shoot for success, and here MFT comes into its own. I prefer a combination of traditional photo technique with software correction, acknowledging that HDR can be just as successful. I spot meter near a highlight with post-production in mind, allowing highlights to be rendered overexposed, shadows underexposed. I have done this for years and know by experience the amounts of under and overexposure each subject requires, and they are all different. There is no magic number. I then correct in Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop. Whitley Court in Worcestershire was featured in the intro. It is one of the great country houses of England. Sadly, it caught fire in 1937, reducing it to a spectacular ruin, now made safe by English heritage. The garden and fountain have been restored. Next door is the parish church of St. Michael and All Angels, which has one of the finest 18th century ecclesiastical interiors in the country, transformed by fittings imported from the demolished chapel of the Duke of Chandos mansion at Cannon, Edgware, formerly in Middlesex. Great Whitley is a location where the architectural photographer can spend the whole day in an idyllic landscape not far from the Malvern Hills. I plan ahead and travel light. The entire project was shot with the Pen F and 17mm f1.8 prime lens. For visits to Northern Ireland, I used the OM5 and 12-45 Pro lens, keeping my kit portable as I travelled by air, placing my entire rucksack under the seat to avoid a baggage charge. It didn't restrict my style or creativity. Instead, it focused my mind. There wasn't much light in the Crown Liquor Saloon, but plenty of liquor. It was, however, coffee time, hence the lack of patrons, showing that timing was important for capturing its unique architecture. Timing was important again at the old Royal Naval College at Greenwich. Busy at most times, but during November, a little less busy. Didn't quite succeed in the painted hall, so I went in closer, but I was blessed in the chapel. Through research, I was aware that the painted hall had been restored. Therefore, I changed the 12-45 Pro lens for the 12-100 so that I could get closer. Now benefiting from image stabilizers in lens and camera, I could zoom in and still obtain image sharpness whilst hand-holding, but with the ISO increased to 400. Images without people might be impossible at any time inside Westminster Abbey. The trick was to book the final hour slot before the scheduled closure, acting as tail-end Charlie. It worked. Well, nearly. The stewards closing off access behind me as I progressed forward. At least, no such problems at any time in the Henry VII Chapel for the fan-vaulted ceiling. I conclude with a selection of images, all handheld, using MFT techniques in a variety of ways with the OM5 and EM1 Mark II.